When the smoke clears, we're still standing.
Bulldog 3-3, patch 8 November, fire for effect, over. Enemy OP on hilltop, over.
When the smoke clears, we're still standing.
Welcome, everybody, to Everlasting Veteran. I am your host, Ryan Landry, coming to you from the new studio. And today's guest, we have Jovon Quarles, former Navy SEAL, and he is most recently known for being on as a co-host for Special Forces, the world's toughest test, plethora of knowledge and operation and traveling the world. And we're going to dive right into the episode of Season 4, Everlasting Veteran.
Big drop. Hope you prepared for this.
What's going on, Jovon? How's everything going to you, friends and family known as Q? Former Navy SEAL, co-host of Special Forces, the world's toughest test. Thank you for coming on the show, man. How's everything going?
Hey, it's doing good, man. Thank you for having me on the show, Ryan. I really appreciate the time and the opportunity that you're giving me to be on your platform. Everything about your website and everything is looking good. I'm looking at your background. I like the studio, man. I'm happy about it. But happy to be here.
Yeah, it's a labor of love studio built by these hands and another veteran, and it's one of those things where you elevate to the next level, and you got to push through it. And we put the first stud up for the studio space October 20th, and I started moving in on Christmas Day, so we hit the ground running. And thanks to pre-recorded episodes, I was able to tackle the studio project and get this amazing studio going. And, the Home Depot came on as a sponsor, and podcasttables.shop for this beautiful table I'm sitting at, and really created the space that it's going to be able to tell a lot of stories and be able to get people's messages out there to others, so they can prove and grow as a person.
Love it, brother. I love it, man. The setup that you got is clutch. I mean, it comes in, it has the whole veterans vibe to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing is, some people saw the live video in which I did last week, kind of giving a background, behind the scenes kind of video, just to let everybody know what I'm working with. Because most of the time I'm putting out videos, TikTok of pictures and stuff like that, but there's a lot of podcasters out there starting up like I did last year, and you have no knowledge of equipment and everything else. So in turn, I also want to be able to put out there what I'm working with, what worked, what didn't work, show the space off a little bit, because I'm very proud of how everything came out. And, we have a shot actually here. I have it pre-programmed, I can show everybody here. So the U.S. Navy, little old school there, that's my grandfather's World War II era. He was World War II, Vietnam, Korea War in the Navy. And that's my beret next to it. So there's some stuff throughout this studio that, it means a lot to me, and, behind me, I have my Cav hat. I have one of the Australian guys' Cav hat, so there's pieces to the studio that tell a story in itself, not just the people sitting behind the microphones.
Right. I mean, it looks amazing, man. I mean, I like how you bring stuff from, your past into that whole setup that you got back there, brother. You kind of make me jealous now. I got to make me one like that too when I start bringing up my own little podcast. So I'm gonna have to do something like that. I'm gonna hit you up about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely fun. And I had a guy over. He'll come on at some point. Retired police officer, and a lot of times, this platform is very strong about talking about transition and talking about mental health and talking about being, the best version of yourself. And I'm in the same boat a lot of the times where when I don't have the headphones and the microphone in front of me, I talk very, very fast, because my brain, it's like anxiety kicks in and stuff like that. And so he was doing the same thing, kind of going on a rant, and you kind of get lost in what you're talking about. And I said, hey, man, why don't you try something? Throw the headphones on real quick. We're not going to record an episode. Just let's have our conversation with the headphones on into the microphones. And I just want to kind of get your perspective of how it kind of forces you to slow things down, and actually kind of think about it. It gives you a sense of almost comfort because you're hearing your own voice, one, and two, it's going into somewhere, right? Even though we weren't even recording, it gave him an opportunity to kind of take a deep breath from life. And when I started this podcast, that is exactly what helped me, and I want to be able to share that with everybody. And that's why I've created this space.
Well, I will say, man, you definitely are leading from the front. So, and that's one of the things we talk about in the military all the time. So leading from the front. So I like that you're creating that kind of platform and that people can kind of learn from what you have going on, the setup that you got going on right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing is a lot of people have to realize that, you can be in the same space as everybody else, but it's okay to be unique and, create your own platform, create it in your own way. There's no other studio like this, behind me, the things on the walls, how it's built, it's unique to Everlasting Veteran. And it's one of those things where it just showcases personality. It creates an atmosphere like we talked about. I do have a little lounge area for guests and everything where, after an episode, it's not just, okay, mic's off. All right, see you later. There may be times where maybe they don't want to just record. They want to be able to have more in-depth conversation and be able to kind of let the weight off a little bit sometimes, and creating that space where it's an unorthodox type of therapy for veterans, first responders, anybody in that kind of atmosphere, creating that space, I think is very important. It's similar to how the Romans, PTSD kind of really wasn't a thing back then, when they would go to war, because a lot of times they get done and they'd sit around a fire, they'd resharpen their blades, and that was their therapeutic session. So PTSD, yeah, they had it in a sense, but it wasn't in a sense the way it is now, because people are more shut off, I think, from talking about it, because, we're starting to kick that stigma and starting to say, hey, listen, there's not really a stigma. It's okay to talk about it. And you can be on a platform and actually talk about it. And it's not going to hurt you, your job. It's not going to hurt you professionally, nothing like that. It's a good thing to, we're only human, and be able to release that a little bit and in a different way. I've done it, I believe, with this atmosphere in this studio.
When it comes to everything you're saying about PTSD, from my personal experience when I went through it as well, right? And then the worry, just like you're saying, because if you tell it, you generally feel when you're active duty, if you say it to the wrong person, that you can get, pushed out of the military, or you can lose your job, or you can't go to employment and stuff like that. So you tend to not really put it out there. And I had a similar situation like that as well, because I was seeing a therapist while I was still active duty, especially going into my last deployment, right? I mean, my last part of my career, I've already done 6 deployments at this point. So now I'm going into my last one. And then you're going through these moments where you're talking to these therapists and you're just kind of ooh, if I say this, am I going to be able to go into my last one? I don't want to you don't want to have that red flag on your career, I guess, so to speak, you know?
Right.
So like you say, you're creating this platform right here where we can actually come and be honest and be real with you in that community, in that environment, because in mental health, right? We all know mental health is a huge issue and people are more open to it now, more so than they were back in the day,
Right.
that we need that community or a safe space that we can actually put these things out there and speak to it. Because I mean, just last year, I had a commander from the SEAL team that I used, my last SEAL team, SEAL Team 1, committed suicide because of these things, right? Because they don't have a platform to put it out there. And you would have never seen that. No one, some of the people who saw him before that happened the week before said they had no idea that this was going on, that he was with these things. But I'm telling you, people, that it's just like you're holding stuff in from PTSD, things we did when we deployed, that makes it so much harder to put it out there and talk to people who can relate to you and that you can communicate safely in a safe space. So Everlasting Veteran is that place. And I love what you're doing, brother.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, I've been on this, you know, very strong health journey lately, and I still have a lot of VA appointments, and that's a learning curve in itself of going through the VA process. And, you know, I've been trying to push this, you know, new mindset of, you know, not being in the mindset of transition out of the military as a singular objective, right? Where, you know, yeah, it is in a sense, you know, your first transition is a physical transition where your contract ends and you get out. That's one transition, right? Then if you need services afterwards, you know, whatever the case may be, you know, yeah, they should do a better job of, you know, being, you know, completely upfront and informative of, you know, what your benefits can include based on whatever ailments you have, to be able to set you up for a better, successful life after the military. They do a decent job, but I think what happened was over the years of being at war, you know, when they started the TAPS program, the Transition Assistance Program, um, I think that it kind of went by the wayside because the focus was so much on the war that now it's kind of reverting back where it needs a revamp type of thing, being able to help transition military members. And on the same note of that, I do believe that strongly that the attributes and everything that a veteran comes with coming out of the military, especially, you know, officers, NCOs and above, you know, what you've learned in the military, I don't think necessarily is transcribed to the best of its ability on your DD 214 to showcase your true abilities into the civilian world. And I think that's a change that needs to happen where, you know, better educating veterans to be able to articulate a little bit better, even though your DD 214 is limited on what's going to be there. But, you know, better informative classes or whatever, you spend so much time and money transitioning into the military, getting you prepared to become a soldier or sailor or whatever. There's not enough time spent on the transition out. And I think that's one of those things that is a hindrance on the successfulness of a lot of veterans getting out of the military.
You know, Ryan, like you're saying right now, right? When it comes to transitioning out of the military, the TAPS program which is what it was called when I went out, when I retired in 2021. I think they've recently changed the name of that.
They did.
Yes, they did. I can't remember it right now off the top of my head, but just like you said, man, it is a hard thing to do because when you're transitioning, a lot of the jobs just don't convert over easily. You know, you just can't really like take some of these things that we've done for so many years, 22 years for me, to just convert over into civilian life. As a Navy SEAL, what else can I do? I guess I can do mercenary work. I can go over there, do little side gigs like that, or I can kind of go into, law enforcement. But after you've been in law enforcement in a way, in the military, it's almost like, do you really want to go right into that field again when you get out, you know, for 22 years? I mean, I consider it law enforcement for the whole world, right? But versus law enforcement in just here in America. So, you know, the transitioning piece of it is hard. It's long. No, it's not as long as it needs to be, just like you said, but it's just, it doesn't give you the things you really need so you can move into the next level. I said this on a speaking engagement, that people need to always keep reinventing themselves, right? So coming out of the military, and then we got to try to reinvent ourselves again into the next life. So that's a part of what I was been trying to like get people to understand. When you come out of the military, that transition is tough, you know,
Right.
because then you got to reinvent yourself, especially if you've been in for a long period of time, some years. So I had trouble trying to reinvent myself, and that was a big part of my story on doing that. I went to the depression. You know, I went down. I had to talk to one of my best buddies who lives in Utah right now, because I had to ask him what was his story like when he first got out, to kind of help me understand what it's like for me, what I need to be prepared for, what I need to kind of help or use as a resource to get out of that thing, because it was bothering me. And I didn't get out of my house for like the first couple months when I first got out, because it was just one of those things. I just didn't need to get up. I didn't want to get up. I didn't have the energy to. I didn't want to. Here I am rambling fast too, just like we talked about earlier. But let me slow it down for the audience, because sometimes I can get into it when I'm really talking about something I'm passionate about.
Right.
But what I want people to really catch this, that people like you, me, other veterans, it is a process. It is it's draining. It's depression, you know, because now you have to figure out what is the purpose of your life now, you know.
Right.
For me, the definition of what we were doing in the SEAL teams, we were going overseas to, you know, get out the bad guys in local areas, to allow the local populace to be able to live freely, right? So they can walk freely in their local locations. If they want to go to their malls or to their shopping centers, what they consider to be those things over there, they don't have to worry of being, you know, assassinated or killed or blown up or shot at or something happening to them out there, because there's terrorism all over the world. And of course, America, we're like the world police, you know, as much as people don't like that term, but we
Right.
are. You know, we are. Somebody, I think of it like, you know, somebody has to do it, right? In a way, honestly, whether people agree with it or not, that we have to be that one, but we are the dominant power on this earth, this planet. So sometimes we may have to step out there and be that world police, even though it just doesn't seem like you really want us to do that, but we have to, because it's part of life. Because we let other countries go crazy, eventually it's going to just flow right into what we're at right now, you know, and then it's just chaos. And we don't want a lot of chaos. So we sometimes got to put that hammer down, try to keep the peace as much as we can. And that transition is tough, man. So people don't really realize that coming out of the military is hard for a lot of us. And suicide is huge. Suicide is just, you know, it's just one thing that people are trying to figure out, how can we handle? You know, how can we create a community for people that they can feel freely to speak and just talk about it freely, like you and I are talking right now, just having a conversation, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, exactly. And, you know, suicide, even the word, a lot of people stay clear of it because it's uncomfortable. Right. And those uncomfortable conversations are sometimes going to be the best conversations to save somebody's life. Because when you're put in an uncomfortable situation, you can only grow as a person, no matter what it is. But you know, a lot of people stay clear of even the word suicide. And, you know, I think it's getting better. I truly believe it's getting better as far as talking about it. However, I do think that mindset is the key to overcoming a lot of the success, overcoming a lot of the downsides and becoming successful. You know, whether it's, you know, getting over those mental hurdles, you know, of feeling alone and left by the wayside, you know, the military forgot about me, the VA doesn't care, you know, and all this other stuff that goes through a lot of our minds as veterans, you know, and, you know, they want me to go to another appointment because they want me to just quit, you know, and, you know, I've felt that. I'm still going through some doctor's appointments right now. And I've felt that along the way, having 2 to 3, you know, VA appointments a week, you know, since June of last year. But I said to and that was what I was holding me back from actually going through the process, is having that feeling and failing myself by not following through, you know, and I've stuck it out. I haven't, you know, missed an appointment. And each time things get a little bit better, you know, so the message is, you know, even though as bad as it sucks, you know, we had that saying in the military, embrace the suck, right? Embrace the suck. There are attributes in training and what was instilled in us in the military. It's still instilled in us now. And we need to use that 110% coming out, because it's going to be a little bit more difficult because we don't have the brothers to the left and our right to pick us up when we're down at a moment's notice.
Oh man, you said a lot right there, brother. Just kind of like hit home, honestly, from going into the VA stuff and going into that whole process as we're trying to reinvent ourselves, because we know we're about to get into the transitioning piece of it. It's a long thing. And we already know, because you've heard all the horror stories from other vets prior to us about their time going through that whole process and how the VA to them was trying to do everything it could to keep you from getting the benefits that you deserved for serving your country, going out there, going into combat, going to battle. Even if you didn't get battle, but you was over there, you know what I mean? You was over there breathing in whatever was going on in the air. You was over there getting all these vaccinations that you needed to have for smallpox and all this stuff when you was in certain areas, because that has to happen to you. So now when it comes time to get out and reinvent yourself, the VA is like, ooh, yeah, you might have did all this, but we ain't trying to, give you all those benefits that you need now to survive for the rest of your life as you're transitioning, as you're evolving, as you're reinventing yourself into the next phase of your life. They try to keep that from you, you know what I mean? And so we all have felt that pain. So when I was going through the process, I was afraid of that as well. It was one of those things where it was like, man, what are these people trying to do? Are they really on your side here, or are they trying to, hold you back so the government can't take care of you like they should be taking care of you, because you've been over there, you did that thing. They've never touched that. They've never experienced that. They have no idea what it's like when you go over there, when you're out there for 6-7 months, or sometimes the Marines and the Army are out there for a whole year. You know what I'm saying? For a whole year in the desert, whole year in Afghanistan, a whole year any other place over there, in that space where you're dealing with that fear of life. You know what I mean? Fear of losing your life, that high stressed environment, bombs, things blowing up. You got incoming. Even if you're in the camp, people think you're safe when you're in the camp, but you ain't, because they're coming in there. You got spies coming in. You got snipers shooting over the walls. You got so many things happening to you, but people don't understand that. And the VA has definitely kind of like, made people fearful of what the process is going to be like when we get out. And, I remember that time when I went through. And then there was a time where there was a job interview that they was trying to, the VA, just so you know, they were trying to see if they could mend those relationships from veterans getting out to what is known from how the VA treats you on your way out. And then when you get out, how easy it is to kind of get things taken care of. Like you said, you're still going through appointments today, right? And they're making these things would be very, hard and just, rugged. It's like, you got to keep driving way here. Then you got to drive way over there. It's like, just to get your rating up to where it needs to be, where it should have been.
Yeah.
And they just make it hard. They make it difficult. They put these roadblocks in front of you, man. So it just makes it a wild thing to deal with. And we might get some hate on from people at the VA from watching this, but they need to understand this is the feelings, the true feelings of how we feel when we're coming out and we have to deal with the VA. There's just so much things that you're worried about. What's going on? Are they really got my back, or they just kind of like trying to keep some of the stuff that I deserve to have received on my way out the door, especially for someone like me at 22 years. But anyone, when you're getting out, so it's a tough task. I'm glad we're on your platform right now, so we can actually talk about it loudly, so other vets can hear about this thing and just know what's going on, and people in general can hear about what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't get me wrong. I mean, there's a lot of really good workers at the VA, and I think times have shifted with the VA and things are getting better. However, I do believe, talking to other people across the country, there are certain areas throughout the country that your VA experience is going to vary based on funding. It really comes down to funding. And it's one thing I even ask when I go to like my VA appointments. So the one thing I didn't realize is, so when I get scheduled for these specialty appointments, the main reason why sometimes that's so far out is because they have to wait for funding to come down. It's similar to like an insurance claim, and the great thing that happened, and I believe it was under the Trump administration when he signed it into law, is now the VA can say, do you want, if it's not a specialty appointment or it's not a date that works, they push it out to what they call community care. And they'll push it out where they'll pick, a facility close to you that's, civilian, to be able to still attend the appointment that you need, but it fits better with your schedule. And I didn't know, how well the VA was going to adapt that, but they've asked me every single time before they schedule my appointment, are you doing community care or are you coming back I go down to West Haven, Connecticut, which is like a 45-minute drive, which isn't too bad, but there are some appointments that they may be 15 minutes. I don't want to drive 45 minutes for a 15-minute appointment. You know what I mean? And the 15-minute appointment, you're waiting there for 45 minutes before you even get seen, so, and then you got to drive another 45 minutes back. My point is, I do believe that they are trying. The VA is huge. And, I've talked about this before. People have to understand 200,000 plus veterans ETS every single year. Right. And we're coming now that, for the most part, Iraq, Afghanistan, that's a whole topic for a different story for the debacle of the pullout. But, you have career long soldiers, sailors, Marines where, they're still in. I got guys that I started with when I was in that are still in right now, made a career of it. They haven't transitioned out yet, so you're going to have an influx of people using the VA, and we're seeing it right now. And I think the influx is only going to get worse. So people have to kind of prepare themselves and be in the mindset to be prepared for that.
Man, yeah, we start talking about the Afghanistan, how we got out of there. There's so much stuff negative. We could talk about that because that was just a shit show, to be honest with you. So
right.
I was trying not to cuss, but I'm like, hey, let me just go and call it what it is. But you're right, man. There's just so many people coming out and they're still in that struggle space of trying to, transition out of the military from this kind of stuff, man. And people think that right now, because we're not technically in a war or whatever, that people are not over there in these countries. I'm telling you right now, if that's what you think, you're wrong. We are in these countries still, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
people still downrange. They're still dealing with these things, even though you think it's peacetime. And I want the civilians to really catch that. If you think it's peacetime and you think we're not in these areas, that we're still, living in tents, we're getting, rain on it because we're out in the elements. We're still going through these fire pits, these burn pits. Because I saw there was something the VA came up with now with the if you've been, in an area where I think you was inhaling certain
the pack.
Yes.
Yeah, PACDAC.
Yep. PACDAC. That's it right there. So those kind of things. Now you can get benefit for that. And I know I was there. I remember we drove through a lot of burn pits, just kind of rolling through Iraq. So speaking of that, now I got to get on to that too. So actually, I need to put my application in for that one. But yeah, I mean, and what you said about the community care thing, that's huge, right? When Trump put that in place, because since I've been out, I've had to do that already, because sometimes they try to keep you to come all the way to the VA and they're 45 minutes away. And you're like, what? And then they'll find something like this closer to you because the appointment is so further out. You're like, why I got to wait that long? There's nothing close by here that you can send me to that will still take my VA, my insurance, so I can still go and get this thing knocked out. So I think, like you're saying on that piece of it, they are trying to convert some things. And that company that reached out to me, they wanted me to be the liaison to try to help mend those relationships as well. So I think they're trying to figure out a way that they can bridge that gap and bring us back closer again, because I think they've heard all the horror stories and, all the people, just, getting in Congress's ass about the veterans and how we feel about what the VA is doing to us over the years. So I think now they're really curving a way to kind of bring us back full circle so we can mend that relationship and kind of be better for each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really comes down to, it's kind of like boots on ground when you're in country and stuff like that. You relay the information back to be able to make strategic plans and decisions for the higher ups and everything like that. It's the same mentality when it comes to, the VA and dealing with the veteran community. Once the veterans are out of the service, they need to start, really relying on, us, the ones that are going through it. And, I do think they're hearing it, more and actually listening it, before, I believe they were just hearing it and not listening, two different things, so. All right, let's dive into, Special Forces, the world's toughest test. Absolutely, great show. You had a amazing time. Some great shots with some celebrities and everything else. The one thing that I've noticed every single time, like you something was about to happen in the show to one of the people going through the tasks or whatever, you let out this like sinister laugh, right? The laugh that could just, something bad's about to happen, you know? Yeah, there it is right there.
Hey, they call it the evil laugh, right? And it's a real thing. I've had this laugh for years now, and not only on the show, but even my friends. When they hear it, they be like, "Q, what is up with that laugh, bro? It sounds like something's about you about to do something dirty, something's wrong, or something's about to go down." So I use that on the show on purpose because I wanted them to know that it's about to go down. So you're right. Every time I brought that up or I brought it out, I wanted the cast, which is the recruits, right? These celebrities who are watching the show, to feel some type of fear, a level of like, oh my God, now I got to pucker my butthole because something's
Yeah.
about to happen. I don't know what he's about to do, but I don't like that laugh. And then even one of the recruits was even talking about he hated it so bad he wanted to punch me in the face. And that's what we're talking about, right? We got to let them know, understand, because like I say, you went through boot camp. We all went through those boot camp. And then I went through SEAL training to be a Navy SEAL. That's like 10x even worse. So we wanted those celebrities to know what it's like when I went through and how there's never a time where you think you're doing good that they're going to let the instructor staff is going to let you know you did good. They're going to let you know you still ain't shit. So that's the whole premise of the idea. You may have had a good day, but you really didn't because I'm going to get in your ass. And when you hear that laugh come out, that Freddy Krueger laugh come out and hit you, you
Yep.
know it's going down.
Yep. Yeah. And a lot of the episodes, a lot of veterans, if they ever watched it, can relate to the, middle of the night wake ups and, you know, just complete caught off guard type of stuff. You guys are essentially drill sergeants, and it's boot camp, and they got to go complete the tasks and everything else. And they're the recruits, and they got tasks to perform and everything else. And I mean, it obviously isn't on the level of operation like the Navy SEALs, but it gives them a little bit of insight into pushing yourself to the next level where you thought your body can't and your mind can't, and staying in the proper mindset to accomplish the mission, and I think the show did a really good job of being able to kind of showcase that a little bit. Obviously, if you haven't gone through, boot camp, AIT, any elite training levels, SEALs, special forces, stuff like that, you're not going to truly understand, because if you didn't walk in somebody's shoes, or walk in those shoes, you don't truly understand. You can grasp a little bit, but yeah, it definitely cracked me up every single time that laugh came out. I said, "Oh, here we go."
Hey, man, all the vets watching this show right now, um, they get it, man. And like you said, they get it. It was one of those things, man. I mean, I had an instructor that had a laugh too. I'm not gonna lie. I'm trying to think of his name right now. It just hit me. I got to tell you his name because his name even sounded sinister. Um, It'll come to me. It'll come to me. But if I tell you his name, you're gonna be like, yeah, that sounds like a crazy dude that you don't want to deal with as an instructor. Gaylord. Yeah, that was it. Instructor Gaylord. If you watch this right now, you know I'm talking about you. He was one of those guys. He was big, tatted up, and he just had a look and everything. And if he laughed, you know it's your back, you know it's your ass. So the show is geared to, like you were saying, to push these celebrities to a point, the brink of where they think their body's going to give out, and see if they're going to turn it on mentally, right? And push through that pain, push through that, that idea that, oh, my body's going to shut down. I could actually die out here, because we all think that, right? I thought that. I remember one time I was going through the training and I thought, man, is this even legal? Can they even do this to us? I was like, this is unreal. But if the world knew what I was going through, we'd be getting shut down. That's what my mind thought on a quick, in a quick time. So, but I'll just tell you, man, it was just crazy. Just have that idea of what was going on, and people got to understand that's what it needs to happen. Though in the SEAL training, it needs to be that unique. It needs to be that hard. It needs to be that demoralizing mentally and physically so we can see what you're going to do. Because if you want to be a part of the elite, you have to go through pain. You have to walk through hell to get there, to the other side of that. So when you get out there on the battlefield, when you get out there in war, and you got to get out there with your brothers right and to your left, you got to be able to make sure you can handle the problem. They need to make sure you can handle the problem. You can handle yourself, and you can cover their asses at the same exact time. Because at the end of the day, you can hurt yourself, or you can hurt one of them, or you can get yourself killed, or get one of them killed. And we want to get everybody home, because the worst thing you can think of or do, and you probably can attest to this too, if you do make a mistake and one of your teammates get hurt because of your mistake, you will take that with you, and it will eat you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the thing that we all try to avoid. I think that's the thing that adds so much more pressure on us when we're going through it, is the, man, I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to do this wrong, because if I know I do, I'm going to get this person hurt. It's not about me. When you're going through this program, it's about the next man to your right and to your left. And you got to think like that. You know what I mean? And
right.
We put these celebrities in this process to make them get a full understanding what it's like to be us, in your shoes, in my shoes, and all the other active duty people and vets out there in the world who serve their country, to let them know what it's really like. Because people really don't understand. They just think we're going over there, and you see some of the movies and you think, yeah, it must be like that at that one moment. But no, you're dealing with those kind of moments all the time. It's just hell, and you got to keep your guard up all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Before we get into some more other stuff, I just want to show everybody the laugh on which I'm talking about before these recruits knew something was about to happen.
It's gonna be a big drop. Hope you prepare for this.
Yeah, that's the scene right there. It was part of the intro and everything too, and it's a testament that you obviously know that you can be in that role, that drill sergeant role, get in their ass, push them to a new level and everything else. And I just wanted to share that clip because when I saw that, I'm like, oh yeah, there we go.
Hey, that the woman, so everyone knows, the woman on that shot that you just played, that was Savannah Chrisley. Okay. Savannah Chrisley is the daughter of the Chrisleys. You can look her up. But after the show, she actually came to me. She said, I knew you when you laughed at me. I looked back at you like, oh, this mother effer right here. So he's just like, she was like that mad at me at the moment when I put it on that rope and had her going down that line. But me and her were really good friends. I mean, a lot of the celebrities, they really look up to me as someone who's done something out there, and also someone who's pushed them and allowed them to even break through that wall, that barrier that they had in front of them all their lives. They all been dealing with something like we all have, right?
Yeah.
None of us are perfect. None of us are without, things that we've done that are embarrassing or that we struggle with. None of us are. So, being there to be able to help them get through that phase of their life was great, because they've also gone through some hard times. Like JoJo Siwa had no idea that she was involved in a shooting at a mall. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't her, of course, but she was there when there was a shooting in a mall. So it's like one of those things. People have traumas that we just don't know about. People think that everyone grows up or whatever. You have your mom and dad, you got the best life and all that coming up, but there are things you still deal with, even if you grew up in that type of household where you have families that were still connected and this and all that, but you still have struggles. I didn't have the family that was like this. My family was more torn, all right down the line. Mom was on drugs, didn't know who my dad was, all that, those kind of things. Raised with my grandparents. My grandmother was very sick. She had heart issues. She was a diabetic, amputee from the right knee down or left knee down. She's no longer here with us today, but I dealt with those things, you know what I mean? And those are still traumas and things people have to still get over. And to be able to push through that stuff, going through the Navy SEAL training, going through your training, and then teaching others to go through that kind of stuff mentally is such a great significance that I take personally as a huge thing, a huge benefit. And I'm fortunate to be in this position that I can do that to people.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things with this podcast, I want to make sure when I started this out, you have a lot of niches when it comes to either podcasting or shows and stuff like that. And I wanted to make sure that I brought perspective on to this show. I don't always have veterans on. I don't always have just people that I know. I've had comedians on. I've had people that are just military supporters. I've had people that yourself served in the military. World historians, stuff like that, to give perspective, because everybody's going through their own thing, and that's one thing with specifically to veterans transitioning out of the military. You have to understand that if you can take something away from what I say or something that Jovon says, understand that your transition is not going to be exactly the same as either one of ours. Everybody's transition is going to be a little bit different because you're your own person, and you have your own things going on, and in life in general, anybody that's going through a hard time or any type of transition. A couple years back, we ended up losing a bunch of people in our family due to either health issues, overdose, stuff like that, and it hit our family pretty hard because it was kind of back to back. It was February to February, and I saw what it was doing to, people that were within our family, and how hard it was hitting them. And for me, the aftermath kind of hit later on because you get in that mindset of push through, be there for them, take care of it, kind of mission readiness mindset, like the mission's not over, so you can't like be yourself type of thing. People have to understand that it's okay to have those feelings. It's okay to have those emotions, and still be supportive at the same time, because you're only human, right? There's only so much that your mind and your body can take before you end up forcing yourself to either have like a breakdown, overwhelming yourself with emotions, stuff like that. And it's only beneficial to you and everybody else around you to be able to handle those and recognize and accept them, to say, hey, I'm pissed off, I'm sad, I'm, whatever the case may be. Go through the emotions. It's a healing process to be able to get through them, because it allows your subconscious, your mind, and everything else to be able to work through the problem better than holding it all in, consuming alcohol, stuff like that. They talk about, when, come back from deployments, and the first thing is everybody gets together and we just drink our faces off, but there's a study out there. When you go through a traumatic incident and you interject any type of substance into it, it alters your mind to the point where your mind's not able to heal, right? So your mind's not able to heal, and it creates backlash, worse effect for your PTSD, anxiety, or whatever else you end up having based on that traumatic incident, because you introduced a substance when you should have allowed your mind to recognize what's going on, handle the emotions, and just recognize the fact that you're a human. You can go through it, and it's okay to do so.
Oh man, speaking on that topic, I have personally tried to do this as far as like manage my peace, right? Which is in a way of saying, for people watching, is that I try to keep things that I think can overwhelm me off, right? Especially because we've dealt with so much stuff. And like you said, with the trauma and stuff and the drinking, I do drink time to time here. So I don't want to put myself in a position where I'm overly whelmed, and then I have that issue that we're talking about, where the mind doesn't heal and you're still dealing with those things. It's there and it's just going to keep coming up because you just don't heal from it, right? And then when you have certain issues that I have had, and then even in my speaking engagements, I tell people to release those emotions. Like you said, don't hold those things in, because if you do, that's what's going to cause you to break and just kind of flip out and just have these breakdowns, these mental breakdowns, go into depression, or even worse, commit suicide. That's fatal, right? So we're talking about releasing those emotions that people go through, so you don't have to worry about holding that stuff in and then exploding one day. Because if you don't let those emotions out, and like you said, it's safe to let those emotions out. We're trying to create that platform where people know it's safe. Let your emotions out. If you need to cry, it's okay. If you need to, sit back and just be in peace for a moment and just let your thoughts freely flow through you, let those thoughts flow through you. I did a psychedelic thing once, And we talked about that, right? Getting into your power is letting your thoughts go through you. Instead of trying to fight the thoughts that you have, whether how good or bad they may be, let the thoughts flow through and then just let them go, right? If you hold on to it and if you try to stick on it and then wonder why and all that stuff, then you're just going to drive yourself crazy. So let the thought go through you, learn your power, peel back layers of who you are by allowing these emotions to flow out, flow through your mind, and just let it, just dissipate into the ground, because if you don't, you'll never peel back these layers of who you are to find the root person that you are and then walk into your power. And that's the thing that we're trying to get people to understand. Walk into your power, but you got to peel back the onion, peel back those layers of yourself, peel back the layers of your soul, of your personal psyche, so you can get that freedom, release those emotions. Don't hold those emotions in, and you'll be able to see yourself walking in a path that you and I would love to be walking into path right now.
Right. Absolutely. And, the other thing too, and this is a very important topic as well. And, I'm still, I guess, in a sense, in the recovery of it, is sleep deprivation. You don't realize how deprived you are of sleep. I have very severe sleep apnea, insomnia and stuff. And, had the study done by the VA, and that journey didn't start until I talked to Rob Sweetman, former Navy SEAL, who is known as the sleep genius. He's got 62 Romeo, and he came on for an episode, and it really sparked my interest of paying attention more, not just how long you sleep, but better sleep. And I got the study done, and I stopped breathing 45 and a half times an hour, right? Like, I didn't realize how bad my sleep apnea was and how bad it was affecting like my lack of sleep. In turn, what was happening too is it starts the hallucinations because you have that lack of sleep. It starts those negative thought processes. So it's part of the overall well-being as well, of being a better version of yourself. You have to tackle not just, talking about what's going on while you're awake, but fixing the stuff so your body can actually rest. It's like, you get an injury, you have to allow your body to properly rest in order to recover. And you got to do the same thing. And I'm still kind of in that recovery phase right now, with the CPAP and everything else of fixing my body from not getting good sleep. And, if I didn't have that conversation with him, that journey probably wouldn't have started, and talking to him, and, he started what he's starting because he did lose somebody close to him in the SEAL teams to suicide, and, it really changed my perspective on focusing on, better sleep and everything. And it's one of the, I guess you can call it aspect of pillars of better health.
Yeah, I wouldn't agree with you on that because, sleep is a huge thing, and I had to deal with that. Sleep apnea is something else. I did 2 tests, okay, and when I got, honorably discharged, a part of my what we try to call it, when you get your disability, right,
Yep.
is because I have sleep apnea. And man, rest is a huge thing. And now, since I'm being a personal trainer, I really understand your rest is massive. People that just don't understand that. And I still have an issue with that. I mean, I typically will sleep 3-4 hours a night, wake up, and then I'm up. So it'd be like a 2 hour straight. Then I'm up again because you never get into those REM sleeps ever, And that stems from us being in the military, right? Being overseas, having to train here in America. I mean, just training. And this, just training alone. We're up all night long. Right. And that's the massive, crazy thing that we're dealing with in the military. Because of that life, that lifestyle we had serving the country, training, we're up all night. We're in the desert, or the heat of the night in the desert, and we can't sleep because it's sweating our balls off out there because it's crazy hot. Or you're in some area where you're cold as I don't know what. So you have to deal with those things. And that's kind of the things that hindered a lot of my life as far as my sleep apnea that I had and the things I was dealing with on top of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's really important. Overall health is really important. And, obviously, you have been going on with, the health journey and have your own kind of training instructions for people and everything to go by, which is the Elite SEAL Fit by Jovon. And, you know, I mean, it's a testament that, you know, when you are more closer to 100%, because let's face it, you know, all the time we can improve. We're not always going to be 100%, right? And you talked about the reinvention, and I say a similar thing, reintroducing the new you. You know, when you get out of the military, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, focusing on your physical and mental health, you know, and then also, you know, with that physical health, like people think of it just going to the gym, you know, and the physical health is not just that. There's so much, you know, that goes on the other 23 or 22 hours throughout the day and night that is crucial to being the best version of yourself. And the closer you get to, you know, 100% of being the best version of yourself, the more you're going to be able to help others.
You're right on that, brother. And sleep is such a huge piece of that. You know, I mean, I still have. I'm telling you, man. There was times out there in the desert when we'd be out there just doing our thing out, and I'm talking just training here, that you just couldn't sleep. You know, and you'd be exhausted. Your mind is gone. You just want to sleep, but you cannot sleep because you're doing so much stuff all day long. Because remember, you're doing day runs. You're doing training in a day, and then we'll come back and do, you know, night vision. So we're doing night runs at the same time. So we're just, the only break we're getting is to eat, right?
Right.
Your body is physically exhausted because you've been out in the sun all day. Then you're doing this stuff at night. It's still hot at nighttime. It's cold, whether you're doing these, you know, in the colder environment. So, I mean, it's such an important thing, and I think people don't understand that, and even now how it affects us when we're getting out to try to get our rating. The sleep apnea is a huge piece of the pie right there, right? It's huge for us.
Right.
And I had to do it twice. Like I said, I did one when I was stationed in Hawaii, and I did another one when I was stationed here in San Diego. And man, it was the first one in Hawaii. I'll tell you how the experience. You know, they put me to sleep in the bedroom with all these things hooked on me and all that stuff at 8 p.m. You know, so I try to make myself tired throughout the day. Did I also work out, leg workout? So by the time I got to the sleep apnea study, I can sleep, because the goal is to sleep, to try to sleep, right? So they can actually gauge you. They can actually get some numbers on you, get some readings on you. If you're not able to sleep, then it's just hard for them to really feed what sleep you are. And by, I think, 11:30, I wake up in the middle of the night. The lady comes in there because I even had restless leg syndrome. So now my legs just want to kick in. I want to get up and start running, you know, like I'm out in the military. So she woke up, she woke up. I woke up. She came in and she was watching me on screen. She came in and she was like, "Are you okay?" I'm trying to scratch the skin off my legs. I was like, "Yeah, this is just normal. This is what happens to me sometimes." And again, this happened later in my career. I want people to know this I was not going through this before the military. I came in at 17, 18 years old in 1999. This was after all of this stuff. So this definitely is a military, you know, how we say, directly affected type of thing. It came from the military.
Yep.
My time.
Military connected.
Yeah. Yep. Military connected. Service connected, I think is what they always say. Right? Service connected.
Yep.
It's service connected. And man, it was just a battle. It was a battle. And then they woke me up at like 6 a.m. And again, I didn't go back to sleep now. I was still up throughout the night, tossing and turning because of the sleep apnea piece. And it's not that I am a crazy snorer. I want people to get that. It's just not about that you're a crazy snorer, because I'm a very fit, athletic person. So I don't have a lot of weight on me that makes me overweight that I'm snoring. It's just that my mind doesn't want to stop. You know what I mean? I'm up all the time. My mind is always going. And then you hear something, or you think you heard something, and then you're up and going again. So it's just one of these things. You just cannot shut it down. You cannot shut this machine that the government created you to be a machine. They created me to be a machine. They created all the other vets to be a machine, to be able to just go, and go, right? And push through those barriers, push through those walls. It's a good thing and bad. It has its good things. Like I said, when you're in the military, you need that. Like if you're in a high position in corporate America, sometimes you need that. You just need to be able to go, and go, because you have a lot of things that's on your plate. You're responsible. You're accountable to a lot of different things. But, you know, in the long run, it's painful for you, because as you get older, what they say, I mean, you're more susceptible to heart attack and, you know, so many other health issues when you're not sleeping well. So I'm telling you, it's a huge thing for everyone watching this. Make sure you're taking care of your sleep, because and if you have CPAP, like both Ryan and I do, make sure you're using that thing, because it can really help you. It's going to suck initially, but, you know, in the long run, it's meant to help get your body where it needs to go so you can actually get some rest.
Yeah. Yeah, I joked about it when I got it. I told my daughter I joined Space Force, and it was just kind of a joke thing, but it was one of those things where I was there was a mental relief that happened when I got the machine. Even though I'm still in the process of trying to sleep with it, and the hose. We could go into the conversation, the hose popping off and the magnets and all this other stuff. So anybody that's got one understands the struggles, right? But let me tell you, like, without it, I can't go to sleep without it now. And it's one of those things where this morning I woke up and I'm still tired, right? Because I got the restless leg and my mind's racing. But the biggest thing is I don't have the uh knocks. I don't have, the voices I thought were right there calling for help. I don't have these, you know, hallucinations, I call them, and that vivid, you're about to fall asleep, but you're not fully asleep type of thing. You think somebody's next to you, you think somebody's talking, think somebody's knocking, and that is a telltale sign of lack of sleep, and it is a hindrance on your mental health, your physical health, and getting these things corrected is crucial to being successful for you and everybody else around you.
All I can say on that, brother, everything you said is 100% true. I mean, it's your life expectancy. You know what I mean? It ages you when you don't sleep. You see people who are, I'm 43 I'll be 44 this year. We're in 2024. But people, man, you'll see them and they're like, man, they struggle with that, man. I mean, they can't seem to rest. They're edgy. They're on edge. They're aggressive. They get frustrated very, very quickly. It sucks, man. And I hated it. I mean, the only benefit I got out of this not being able to sleep was that I was in Iraq. That was it. When you're sleeping through the night, I want to be alert when we're out there in the middle of a village or a town, excuse me, taking over a certain area, trying to, get the terrorist groups out of there. But we got to be alert all through the night. So instead of me just trying to sleep, I want to be up a little bit more longer so I can really see what's going on. Take a quick nap, but I want to be right back in it again. So that's the only benefit it has to you. But if you're not on your A game, if you're not on your game, if you don't get the sleep that you need, you cannot reach your maximum potential. You cannot serve people the way you should be able to serve people, the way that you want to be able to serve the people. You just can't do that. It's only going to take you so far before you crash, before you find yourself running down the street, crazy because you just can't seem to shut your mind off.
Yeah.
And I used to take melatonin. Didn't work for me. I used to take what's the one they used to give us on the plane? I'm trying to think of the name of it. I can't think of the name of it, but it was something they used to give us when we were on the plane to sleep. None of that stuff worked for me. My mind would just eat that up like a fly, but just fly eating water. So
Yeah.
nothing worked for me. So, it had to take until I started getting the CPAP. I started doing meditation. I went to psychedelics as well. That's psychedelics people try not to talk about much. I'll just give you my experience on that. I mean, it was definitely a scary episode because I learned more about me and things in me that I didn't heal from. Because you talked about healing earlier, things I didn't heal from my past, my childhood. Being an aggressive person because I had a mom on drugs that I didn't have that loving affection from mom. I didn't have that loving affection from my dad. So I didn't get those things. So I had things in me that I didn't know. A lot of anger and stuff like that kept my mind going, and I always battled about. And now my mind always thinking about those things, and I couldn't sleep neither. I couldn't get that REM sleep. I couldn't get that deep sleep like you was talking about, and it just sucks, man, when you can't get there. It just really sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, it just becomes one of those draining processes. You feel like you're just kind of scooting yourself through life and there's no end in sight type of thing. And people have to understand, and anybody, that's watching, listening, it's okay to go, hey, something's not right, and go and figure it out. It may take a little bit of time, to figure out, what exactly works for you. But at the same time, when you focus yourself on bettering yourself, you're changing your mindset. So I have this thing that I kind of picked up along the way, when I started, my journey. Obviously, I got into the VA system, but I started that mindset change journey, a few years back before the start of Everlasting Veteran, and it's gotten to the point in what it's at right now because now I want to be able to put it out there to be able to help others and let them know what I've gone through. I worked hard, every single day for what I have. But when the mic goes off, even before the podcast, when the front door closes, I'm home. There's times, without hesitation, I go, I feel alone. I feel this. I feel that. And you're like, why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling this? I just had a great day. I just got home, going to make some dinner or something. Why am I feeling this way? Right. Or, whatever else. And a lot of it comes down to sleep, and that's the root of it. A lot of it comes down to sleep. You're exhausted. Your mind can't shut off. And it's one of those big things that I think is not talked about enough. And I don't know too much about the whole psychedelic thing, but I have read a few articles of people that have gone on those retreat journeys. It's a specific, like, kind of medical staff type of thing, where it's almost reboots your brain type of thing. I don't know too much about it, so I'm not going to really talk on the topic. But I do feel like there's more to be done, or can be done, and more research to be able to help people. But the main point of the whole thing is not just veterans, but anybody. If you're going through stuff and you recognize that you're going through stuff, the onus is on you to say, all right, let's flip that light switch. It's time to go get things corrected, and do it for you. You have to do it for you first, and be selfish about it, because you have to take care of yourself. It's a time for you to be selfish. If you're a caring person and you love taking care of other people or helping other people and putting goodness out into this world, if you can't be selfish for yourself to take care of yourself, then you're going to fail before you succeed.
There's a saying out there. They say about, when you're in an airplane and the oxygen mask comes out, and they say you got to put it on yourself first before you help someone else. The reason that is everyone already knows common sense, right? Because you can't help someone else if you're not helped first. If you're not set up so you can survive, you cannot help someone else. So
Right.
like you're saying, taking care of our mental health is such a huge thing of this, because you cannot be there for your family. You cannot be there for your loved ones. You cannot be there for your friends. You cannot be there for your teammates, your coworkers, whatever it may be that you're doing, if you're not wholly taken care of. That's one thing I can definitely tell you in the SEAL teams that they really harped on with us, because we're such a small unit. We had these ombudsmen, we had our master chiefs, all these people were making sure that before we step out the door and go on deployment, you and your family are straight across the board. Because if you're not, they don't want to bring you over here, because they want to make sure everything is good. So that's the one thing I can really say that I really enjoyed about the SEAL team. They really took care of your families. If you had wife and kids, they really put effort in to make sure you had time with them when you were home. If you had any kind of financial struggles, they had opportunities and things that can really help you settle those things, and help your wife find a community, help your kids find a really good community or school for them. They've really put things in alignment because they wanted you to be in alignment, because they already understood exactly what you said. You can't help out no one else. You cannot be what am I trying to say? An asset to everyone else. You most likely will turn yourself into a liability if you do not take care of yourself first. It's about you. Do it for yourself first, then you can take care of everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing too is, we talked about, getting out and, kind of feeling like that brotherhood's not there anymore. It's there. It's spread out, right? You have to get in the mindset. I have to re-network. I have to learn how to make new connections in the community which you land your feet in when you get out, and you're going to be able to find perspective and help along the way of people that have already gone through, the transitions, the VA, and whatever else. And you're going to be able to find those people and make those connections and build that close brotherhood within your community. And the only way to really, and I'm trying to push this, is I say community, but people need to understand is you can't have community without unity. You can't even spell it, right? So as a veteran community and as a community for, United States, America as a whole, right? You have to be unified you have to have unity in order to have a community, and it's one of those things where we get so stuck up and set in our ways where we used to know like our sometimes our neighbor 2 doors down, 3 doors down, but now everybody's so busy in their own life, they don't care about anybody else. And it's become one of those things where it's like when you raise your hand and you need help, you got nobody around because you won't even like stop and talk to somebody. If you're in a position where you need, or want to have a bigger community, a stronger community, you need to start listening, actively listening, not just hearing people talk, but actively listening to the people around you to be able to grow together. And especially in the veteran community, we're forever changing. We have so many different dynamics within our community. People don't understand the veteran community is very diverse in the fact that we have arguments of the stupidest shit in our own community that probably shouldn't even be a topic of discussion, and it separates friendships sometimes. And it's like, why are we even arguing? You have to actively listen to, the person to your left and your right. You earn the status of veteran, and, just hold on to that because you are your brother's keeper. And it's on us when we get out to be there for that person to the left and the right, just like we were in service.
Oh man, when you talk about community, I've tried to create that with some other brothers here in the SEAL teams that I've gotten out, and just other people just in military as well. Some of the hosts are also military. Well, not some. All of the hosts of my show, they're also military as well. Marine Recon, right? Rudy Reyes, he's out here in America. We are looking to create those type of communities, especially in the mental health space, because we know how important it is, right? Rudy's lost a lot of his good friends, especially in the Marines. The first war we had going through Fallujah, going through Iraq, he was there. So, there's a lot of people that are having PTSD from those things. They need those communities, like you said. But like you said, they're there, right? They're just spread out. So as much as I'm trying to put information out and content out about my community that I'm trying to create for others to be able to be partnered with or come on board with, so they can also take advantage of what we're doing as a community, as a friendship, as people who've been there, done that, right? As veterans, it's one of those things I'm finding hard to find them all. So people who's watching this show, please go to my Instagram and find me, because we have a community where me and a few other SEALs, we do this mental mindset weekly talk. It's for free, and we're doing it for free. And we're just really getting it out there just so people can see from different aspects, different personalities of things that we've all faced, of what we're going through, and how you can push through some of those things. And then we go into life transitions and things that you can go into your life and use as a resource so you can win and be successful in your life. Because a lot of these guys were all out of the military. So just like Everlasting Vets, we're trying to create that same type of place where people can be free, right? And just kind of like sit there and listen to people who have been there and done that, right? And then get the experiences and hear some of these stories from people like you and me who's been there, done that, and who can just give back, because we all just want to give back, right? And that's the true nature of what Everlasting Veteran is. It's about giving back, because that's part of it, right? I mean, you would not be doing this podcast if you didn't want to give back to people.
All right.
Period. People think people just want to create these things because they just want to talk. No, this ain't just because they want to. They want to give you something that you can hopefully take with you and relate into your life and use with your family, your wife, your kids, your husband, whatever it may be, your friends, your coworkers, to get it out there, man, and just say, you know what? I just heard a podcast today. from, everlasting vet, on, what we're talking about today: communication, building the community, mindset, mental health, how we can be better, you know, sleep apnea, how important sleep is, because we struggle with not getting enough sleep, why it affects you when you wake up every single day, why, when you're not catching up with your sleep throughout the week, you can guarantee by the middle of the week you're struggling, or by Friday you're done, right?
Right.
You have no desire, you don't want to be productive, you don't want to do anything. So, we do these things for a reason, because we enjoy giving back.
Yeah. Yeah, and you touched on it. Communication is a key thing. The one thing I've noticed, over the years, and it's good that everybody, is creating their avenue of approach to things. But at the same time, just because your avenue of approach or what you're creating, and I'm not going to put any names or anything out there, because it is what it is. But I'm not actively going around going, hey, do you want to work with me? Hey, do you want to work with me? I'm one of those people where I'm going to put out what I can. And, when I go to events and people approach me and say, hey, let's have a conversation about working together. And then, I do a follow up, and, I get told that, they've thought about it and they think that, I want to work with them because I want to steal their followers and, be on the platform to be able to, take away from what they're doing. We're doing two different things. Like, get out of that mindset of saying we can't work together, because if you in that mindset of I'm the only organization that's going to be able to save the world, right? You're going to fail for yourself and everybody else around you. And I've run into it so many times, and the people that I connect with, and I tell people all the time is, as things progress, and, I have Everlasting Veteran, the podcast, and, it's set up as a business. I have 8 trademarks, and as I progress, and Everlasting Veteran Foundation is going to be formed. I did it the way I did it because that's my business model. That's what works for me. That allows me, I don't have a team behind me creating stuff. I build my own website. Everything that I put out is by me. I'm not, paying, big corporations to create stuff for me. But I always want to work with people, and if you think that I'm in the space to be a competitive force against you, right, then maybe you shouldn't be in the space yourself, because you're not opening your mind to work with others, and in the veteran community, or any community for that matter, if your common goal is to help people and you can do it together, and everybody wins.
Hey, I felt that too before. Like you're saying, when you try to reach out to another vet who's doing something, and you're like, hey, man, we should just definitely do something together, that they don't see the vision of how this thing could be so much bigger. They just see their little place that they're in. They're like, no, you can't have my people. Like, bro, it's like, and I'll get that. And I feel that's what they're thinking. They may not say it to me verbally, but I can feel that's what they're thinking. And I have a following. I have over a couple thousand, over 10,000 followers, 15,000 followers. So I'm like, when you think about these people and they say those things, I'm like, why? We're trying to create. I see something what you're doing that I think if we do something together, and it ain't got to be consistent, it ain't got to be every single week or whatever. We do something here and there, every now and again, we can reach so much bigger of a platform of people that we can touch. Right. That's the good thing about social media now. Compared back in the 1900s and below, there was not a platform that you could just touch a million amount of people just by a click of a button. Now we have that. And we're like, we can get this out there. Let's get some people to see what we're talking about, because there's such a big span of us, of veterans who are across this world, across this planet, who would love to be a part of what we're doing, whether it's the Everlasting Vet, or whether it's just want to see and just follow Jovon Quarles, whatever. It's like, why are we fighting over people? There's billions of people out there who would love to relate to you or me. It doesn't matter, but I see what you're saying. And it sucks that people are fighting for $1, all the time. And they think one person is going to take $1 away from them.
Yeah. Well, and I tell people all the time, when I have a speaking engagement on Wednesday up at Veterans Rally Point. Shout out to Veterans Rally Point in Norwich, Connecticut. nonprofit organization. It's like a veterans community center, which was built, and it's part of the Easter Seals. Phenomenal facility, state-of-the-art gym. You can go do woodworking, all that kind of stuff, and I can get into that for a whole episode of the amount of work that they're doing up there. They, I started, utilizing the space because that's where, veterans go. They got connections with the VA. They have VA reps in there. They, everything else. And, I wanted to be a part of the veteran community because I am a veteran myself, and the work that I'm doing, even though with Everlasting Veteran right now, for profit, you can still do nonprofit work, and people like get this in their mind of, well, you're a business. I said, okay. And I don't charge anybody to come on my podcast. Knowledge is power. If I'm going to charge somebody to come on here and say, hey, this is how you can improve yourself, then I'd be wrong. I'd be wrong for doing that, but, I get my sponsorships, avenues of approach, you have to, even if you're a nonprofit, things cost money, grants, fundraising, donations, stuff like that. Things cost money. So in order to be able to help at all, whatever space you're in, profit or nonprofit or for profit, things cost money, and people have to get it out of their head that just because it's a business, right, or set up as a business right now, which the podcast side will stay that way. My nonprofit work will filter over to the 501c3, the Everlasting Veteran Foundation. But I did it in a sense because I want to protect what I'm doing. There's so many, unfortunately, people out there that are chasing the dollar, right? When you chase the dollar, and this goes out to any entrepreneurs out there, when you chase the dollar, you're going to fail 100 times out of 100 times before you succeed. If you find your purpose, what is your purpose for your business or whatever the case may be, and you say it's not about chasing the dollar, it's about the mission. And when you continuously over and over and over again accomplish the mission, a lot of people laughed at me, talked behind my back, gave me the cold shoulder. Tell me another for-profit, right, that start up February, all right, I start the dog program end of June. From end of June, we donate the first dog in July, which Everlasting Veteran pays for the training of the dogs. So from July into December, 5 future service dogs to 5 veterans in 5 months. Completely free to the veteran.
That's cool. I just gotta say that. That's cool.
So I tell people this. I'm like, there are people that say, hey, I'm here. They may be a nonprofit, and they go, oh, the money goes to the veteran community. Well, what are you doing? I'm trying to not reinvent, but actually show how you can directly impact a community through work. Right. And, showcasing it on as big of a platform that I can physically, possibly by myself. All right. And I have had along the way, my brother-in-law, a Marine Corps veteran who owns Rockin' Frenchies, helped me start up. We donated the first dog in July. I now have another breeder, AKC breeder, Meadow Ridge Wimes and Danes out of Connecticut, because I wanted to make sure that I have different dog breeds to fit the different needs for veterans, and I said to myself, I will never work with somebody that can't work with somebody else. I want to make sure that I create an open space, open discussion, even though I'm the sole owner of the company, right? It's one of those things. If you're trying to help somebody and you're not ready for constructive criticism to grow as a person and as an owner and in the space that you're in, then you probably should self-reflect a little bit, because constructive criticism only helps you along the way.
Oh, I agree. Constructive criticism is the number one thing that most people can't take. That ego, right? People allow ego to bother them, and that's one thing I pride myself because when I first, something came up on my screen. Let me see this. I don't know what that is. All right, sorry about that. But I prided myself on being humble. When I first came in the Navy, I was a CB, so I was an engineer. So when I first became a SEAL, it was one of those things where I understood where I came from to a point where I was like, you know what? I'm not taking this title that I'm a big bad Navy SEAL, that I'm just better than everybody else. I'm gonna lose this ego and put me in a different world of where you got to be on this level to talk to me. You got to be another SEAL if we want to have a friendship. No, you can't do that. So constructive criticism is the exact same thing. It's just that if you can't handle it because of your ego so much far up your, what,
Yeah.
then, I don't want to deal with you either, because I am going to be that person who want to tell you if I think this is wrong for you and you need to do something else and you need to try to adjust this thing or whatever like that. And I want you to give me the exact same feedback so I can be better. Like when I do my speaking engagements, I always have someone to tell me, what do you think? What could I have done better? Right. And if they say something to me, I'm not the guy sitting back there listening to them like, he don't know what he's talking about. I crushed that part. No, it's like you got to be able to take that. I want to be a humble person. You and I have been there. We've been in violence in our adult life, as talking about military and deployment and all that stuff. I don't want that now. I just want to grow and be better and bring a whole community of people with me. So if you can be someone that can take constructive criticism, you're humble, you're coachable, I want you in my team, because I'm going to give you the exact same piece. I'm going to give you that exact same thing back to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the one thing too, myself included, you never can stop learning. You never know where you're going to be able to learn from or who you're going to learn from, and continuing to remain in an open mindset. And people have to understand also there's a distinct difference between a humble person that has drive, ambition, and direction, right? With a very structured goal, in mind, versus somebody that has an ego, right? It's one of those things, and they talk about it, and I haven't gone to, any intense business classes or anything like that, but it's one of those things in business, in self, preparation, for improvement and everything else. Somebody that is driven, self-driven, has the mindset to accomplish, we say it all the time, accomplish the mission, it could be the task at hand. If somebody's in that mindset and they are just looking at that goal and they know there's a bunch of things in between to be able to accomplish that mission at the end, there's a distinct difference between having a huge ego and being focused on what you need to do.
I can honestly say I can agree to that. And you may have some people in the background that just came in. I rented this spot for a moment, so give me a second here. I want to make sure you can hear that clearly. But there is a level of understanding when that comes into place, right? Because some people just don't know and understand the distinction between that. And ego can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing, right? Too much ego could, you can fall, you can crash. Not enough ego, you're not asserting yourself enough, right? You don't have enough confidence in yourself. So I want people to understand and catch on this part when we talk about ego, that it's still a good thing to have some.
Right.
The criticism piece of it, being able to understand when you're wrong or you're not the smartest person in the room, and accept that you may not be that person and be okay with not being that person is very important.
Yeah. The other thing too is, I saw the short clip, and I believe he may have been a preacher, but he said that, if you're doing good and, you're doing stuff where it's the spotlight's on you, people are going to talk about you. If you're not doing something, that's next level, people aren't going to talk about you. So you have to understand, when you're ready to bring yourself to the next level, you're going to have that white noise in the background that is going to try to pull you down because they're not accomplishing the same thing you are in self-improvement and everything else, and you have to ignore it. I got hit hard with it when I started Everlasting Veteran, and there were some days where it was draining me, but I had to push through. I had to ignore it because I knew that what I was doing, all right, at the end, and I'm still, even coming up on a year now, still in the infant stage of growing this to what I want to bring it to. But if you don't ignore that negative energy, which brings me to my point in which I picked up along the way, which I didn't even talk about, the concept of control, alt, delete. All right. You have to control yourself. Right. And then you have to alter your mindset and delete the negativity. All right. Using that simplistic mindset of how to manage what's going on in your life, control, alt, delete, it has helped me significantly. You know, even with the small stuff going on with Everlasting Veteran, stuff in my own life, you know, outside of this. And it really does work, and it makes it simplistic. And, you know, obviously veterans are going to be able to relate to acronyms and stuff like that. So I related to it very well because I'm like, oh, that's easy to remember, you know? So just know that, you know, when you're going through a tough time, you're trying to better yourself. You got that noise in the background telling you, you know, you're not going to do anything, can't do it, whatever the case may be. Control, alt, delete. Control yourself, control your emotions, because you let your emotions get the best of you, you're not going to be able to do the other two steps: alter your mind and delete the negativity.
Hey, I was at a school yesterday, a private school. I went and just talked to. They had their kids there, so I talked to them. Well, no, Saturday, excuse me, and I talked to them about that emotion. You know, getting that emotion out. You know, letting their body go through whatever things they're dealing with. Because if you get too stuck in your emotions, you cannot do anything else. So that control, alt, delete, resetting your mind. That's something we can do internally, always together. But you have to like just practice it and believe in it, right? And don't do that negative talk. Get rid of that negative self talk and all that stuff. Just say you can do it. I'm gonna try. You know, even if you feel like you can do something that is like, I can't run, you know, the 100-yard dash 9 seconds like Usain Bolt, right? But I don't need to say it out loud. I'm gonna say I'm gonna give it a shot. Let's go. I'm gonna see how fast I can do. You know, that's how I talk to myself, and we're gonna see what goes on from there. But no, everything you said is right, brother.
Yeah. All right, man. So you got any big plans coming up? Any new news after you know, the show's release, which was a huge success? Any new stuff coming up? You got a lot of speaking engagements and stuff.
Ooh, brother. So far, I've been doing a lot of speaking engagements. Again, it's been really good for that. It's on the high school and college levels, because that's really I really want to attack that group, that age group, and let them understand some things about processes and you know, going through the process for sure. And when you have a challenge, stop looking for something to fall in your lap easy. Right. I try to teach these kids nowadays that, you know, number one, anything that's worth having, you know, is going to go through a process. It's going to be a tough process. And just because it gets hard, don't think and start making the excuse that maybe it's not meant for you, right? Don't start justifying that excuse that, oh, okay, at least I gave it a shot. Maybe this is something for me to do over here, right? Because at the end of the day, you should be wanting to be better, right? The better version of that. Don't ask for something to be easy. Just ask for yourself to be better. Try to be better. Because I'm telling you, if you go through that wall, you keep pushing on that wall, you keep chipping it away with a sledgehammer, keep chipping it away and keep chipping it away, whatever that task may be in your life, whether it's education, physical fitness, you know, whatever your school. I'm telling you, if you go through that wall and you finish it on the other side, there's so much greatness, so much significance you're going to find. So that's what my message has been to these kids on right now, as I've been talking to them, is to go through it. You know, be the one to go through it, be the leader to go through it. And then now I got selected to come back. Fox called me to come back for season 3, which we are shooting in May. Can't tell you what we're going to be shooting it at, but we are shooting it in May this year. And it'll probably be coming out again in the next September of next year. I mean, this year as well, around the same time as the second season. But season 3, we are shooting. We are getting the cast ready together already as we speak right now. And all I'm doing right now is, other than speaking engagements and little things here and there, Like I do leadership courses, like physical fitness leadership courses.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm just kind of getting myself back right, getting my body back right to get prepped and ready for this this event we're going to do in May.
Awesome.
Oh,
Awesome.
and TV. I'm trying to get more into TV and movies. Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's awesome. Looking forward to season 3. Special Forces, the world's toughest test. Co-host Jovon over here doing big things with Fox. I appreciate you coming on, man. And I appreciate podcasttables.shop. They hooked it up. A new sponsor for Everlasting Veteran. They sent out this beautiful podcast table to bring this and elevate this podcast space to the new level of professionalism for Everlasting Veteran. Go check them out, podcasttables.shop. And of course, the pillars of the dog program, in which Everlasting Veteran has, getting future service dogs out to veterans and first responders. Rockin' Frenchies down in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and Meadow Ridge, Wimes and Danes up here in Connecticut. Without them, I would not be able to do what I'm doing. I just want to appreciate them. The Home Depot coming on board, helping out with this project, getting this studio going with materials and everything else. And Tractor Supply came on to supply dog food and everything else. I appreciate everybody. Jovon, it's been an honor, man. I appreciate you coming on, taking the time out of your day, and looking to do some follow-ups after season 3.
Absolutely. I'll be ready to come back again. And for those who's watching this show right now, watching the podcast and really following Everlasting Veteran, make sure you're supporting Everlasting Veteran podcast. Like, share it out there. You can catch me on Instagram. My name is Jovon P. Quarles, just like you see on the screen right here. That's my Instagram handle, and that's pretty much where I do most of my work from there. Be great looking out for that. And at the end of the year, you should also see a book coming out too. So let's do it, man. Let's keep building Everlasting Veteran. Let's keep doing these things.
Awesome, man. Hopefully maybe next time I get you actually in studio here and you can come check it out.
I have no problem coming up.
All right, man. Have a good one.
You
This
too,
is
brother.
Your host, Ryan Landry, with Everlasting Veteran.
From the cannons, when the smoke clears, we're still standing.
Bulldog 3-3, patch 8 November, fire for effect over. Enemy OP on hilltop over.